This story begins in the capital of Palam, one of the largest trading cities. It is here that our hero, Bonanza, works hard. He is an ordinary merchant. But he is different from other merchants. His attitude towards demi-humans is much better than others. For everyone else, they are just slaves, but Bonanza treats them with great respect. Because of this, other merchants consider him an idiot. The only thing our hero wants is for everyone to live in equality and peace. Just at the moment of thinking about equality, Bonanza disappeared. Our hero found himself in another, medieval fantasy world, just during the 158th summoning of heroes. The kingdom that summoned him is called the Magic Kingdom of Clairon. And Bonanza is only a candidate hero. The kingdom has long been at war with the forces of darkness. According to ancient traditions, they call candidates for the role of heroes in the hope that they will help in the battle. It's time to evaluate our hero's abilities to identify divine revelation. Since when moving, the candidate returns to the first level. In return he is granted divine power. This is an ability that an ordinary inhabitant of this world will never receive. Only here, the skills turned out to be absolutely insignificant. Besides, there is not even a divine revelation. Therefore, the words of our hero that he is an ordinary merchant turned out to be true. Once again, a hero appeared with absolutely the same skills as an ordinary person. However, not everything is so sad. A guy worthy of the title of a legendary hero appeared. Everyone had hope for salvation from the forces of darkness. The king immediately declared the young man their hero. Our hero only needs to go back. Only the return failed. A little earlier, the king personally said that the gate through which our hero came was forever closed, so they cannot return him home. Since the kingdom is to blame for everything, so he is given special permission to settle in a house located in the north of the Delavisa forest. However, in return, he is forbidden to tell anyone about this oversight. Even an ordinary coachman is forbidden to talk to our hero. But our hero wanted to learn at least something about this country. The main difference between the two worlds is that everyone is completely equal here. There are no slave contracts. Everyone has exclusively working relationships, albeit small salaries similar to slavery. This is the only thing the hero was able to extract from the coachman. Our hero's path was long and lonely. And only after 20 days our hero arrived. In the form of supplies, the hero was only given a bottomless bag. It should contain enough money and food for the first time. But the coachman immediately warned that an army of darkness is operating nearby, so no matter what it costs our hero, he should not linger here. Already in the next frame, our hero is left alone. It remains to understand what was given to our hero. Luckily, the local bag works the same way as in the previous world. One of the few items was a sword, although beautiful, but incredibly fragile. At that moment, small slugs appeared. Only they were not friendly. However, after 3 slugs, the sword was completely unusable. A joyful event was getting a new level. Skills immediately transformed. A voice assistant also became available, which immediately reported useful information. Having reached the 2nd level, our hero received many spells. The most important, the Curse of Surveillance, Lure of Creatures and Quick Recovery, were applied to his bottomless sack. Now it is clear why the slugs suddenly attacked, and why they gave out such a fragile sword. It was all an insidious plan of the kingdom to eliminate trash in the form of our hero. The assistant immediately offered to remove the spell, which he successfully did. All that remained was to find a safe place. Only in the forest there is an increased amount of dark elements. These elements are a general designation of liquid and gaseous substances secreted by demons. They are extremely dangerous for people. Suddenly, the assistant offered to completely clear the forest, to which the hero agreed without hesitation. After all, he still had to live here. The most powerful cleaning spell began. Thanks to this, our hero received a new level. More precisely, very many levels. At the same time, the princess visited the king. Dissatisfied with the cruel act of her father. Only here it is not clear, the king understands that they themselves are to blame for the movement of our hero, but decided only to exile him to the northern forest, where, as was known for a long time, huge hordes of monsters settled. The magician who appeared immediately reported that powerful light magic was used. At the same time, our hero finally received all 300 levels. It remains only to understand what to do. He does not even know how much his magic cleared the forest. At the same time, he is forbidden to live in the city. And in this case, the assistant found a solution. The magic of changing appearance. The first thing our hero decided to do was to check what it was like to be a girl. Of course, everything was wonderful, everything was in place. Only now he will have to live his whole life in this body. You need to take it more seriously. Now you can safely go to the city and no one will understand that he is Bonanza. The problem of movement was immediately solved. Our hero has access to the magic of instant movement. Therefore, in the next frame, our hero got to the capital. In his world, this spell was available only to the strongest magicians. The first thing Bonanza did was go in search of money. The Merchant's Guild is not suitable for him. It is impossible to get there without connections. Only the Adventurers Guild remains. The assistant also has a built-in navigator. Already in the next frame, our hero arrived at the guild. Everything is like in other fantasy worlds. The higher the rank of the adventurer, the higher the reward and the more difficult the available rewards. Only problems with the name remained. In order not to get caught on the name, I had to come up with a new name. Now our hero is called Flio. All data will be recorded on this medal. Already in the next frame, it's time to choose a task for the guild. At the same time, a little girl tried in every way to find a brave man who would accompany her to the forest of Delavisa. Only, everyone knew about the demons in this forest, so no one would go there for any money. The only one who responded was our hero. After all, with the magic of movement, they would get there in a moment. Only Flio did not know that the magic of movement in this world is extremely rare. At the same moment, the Knight of Boleros, from the Royal Guard, decided to sort things out. Our hero said that he could use the magic of movement, but he did not look like an experienced magician. The first thing the Boleros squad thought about was the kidnapping of children and slavery, human trafficking. Or he was just into little girls. Under the pressure of the squad, he would have to find an excuse. The only way out was their joint movement. Therefore, already on the street, Flio decided to demonstrate his abilities. A moment later, the entire squad found themselves in a clearing next to the forest of Delavisa. Belavisa immediately decided to offer her deepest apologies. At the same time, a little girl froze in a stupor. There were no more dark elements in the forest, it should have been completely shrouded in thick fog. Flio decided to explain, but the assistant stopped him, because it was dangerous to tell a demon about purification magic. The only one who immediately understood everything was Belavisa. She immediately saw through the girl. The guild said that a suspicious little girl was looking for a guide to get into the forest Delavisa. It is clear that she decided to return to the demon camp. The demon only had to show his true face. In an instant, a huge moon wolf grew out of the little girl. This is one of the devil's four, Fenris's younger sister. She was sent to follow the enemies and find food. Under the onslaught of dark elements, everyone crouched under the pressure. Only the main character did not care. For starters, Fenris decided to kill the squad of girls first, and finally defeat our hero. But Flio had a plan. The girls were saved. However, Fenris immediately switched to our hero. Our hero sent the girls to try out all his spells to the fullest. The first spell was a giant leap. After it, an earthen rampart. Also in the arsenal was a tornado spell. Fenris also had his own spells. The hero did not lose his head and used gravity. The assistant immediately suggested enslavement magic. This is a kind of slavery, only with complete control of thoughts and desires. But our hero didn't like it. Fenris tried to use some spells, but the assistant immediately broke them. The she-wolf completely ran out of strength. The enemy surrendered. But our hero spared her, because from the very beginning he didn't want to fight. In this world, the demons saw such an attitude for the first time. Our hero doesn't care whether you are a demon or a human, he doesn't want to kill someone who surrendered. Fenris decided to show her human form. But she had nothing on. While the protagonist decided to take clothes, Fenris fell asleep due to the depletion of her magic reserves. Already in the next frame, in the evening, Flio is trying to figure out her spells. And the girl just woke up. She has resistance to magic, but even so she couldn't cope. She always thought that people were weak and helpless. While Fenris was sleeping, our hero used restoration magic. Anyone else would have killed her long ago and skinned her. Therefore, the girl faithfully swears not to fight with people anymore. And for his superior strength, she declares him her master. In order to repay for kindness, she will devote her whole life. Only our hero was against slavery. Only the threat of suicide convinced him, so the girl can move freely with him. Sitting by the fire, our hero decided to tell how he ended up here. He also showed his original appearance. Despite all the difficulties, Fenris will still go with him. After all, their life is to serve their master, so no matter where he is from, she swears allegiance to him. At the same time, in the royal palace, the great hero arrived with a report. He does not understand what kind of knights are given to him for the task. At the sight of the first monster, all the knights broke ranks and shit their pants. Then the hero tried with all his might to save the soldiers. However, in reality, everything was like this. Despite his status, he stood at the very end. While the others were fighting, he galloped away, since only the knights were to blame for what was happening. Some are already beginning to express their dissatisfaction. The great hero at the same time did not understand how, having been practicing for several months, his skills had not improved at all. With his current skills, he can only fight weak people or low-ranking monsters. At the same time, our heroes went to the city to get money for the first time. Only the merchant mistakenly called our heroes spouses. Therefore, our hero immediately decided, for the legend, to cover up that they were married in order to travel together peacefully. Already in the guild, Fenris received her token. Now she must live like a human. At the same time, an urgent task appeared. A huge flock of creepy ghosts appeared to the north of here, who are heading straight for the city. Since the task is urgent, a reward of 10 times more than usual is assigned for each killed. The main character is not going to interfere in this, but Fenris immediately convinced him otherwise, because he will deal with the whole pack in the blink of an eye. In the next frame, our heroes arrived at the place. The guild gave them a house in which they can live for some time. Only then our heroes heard cries for help. On the spot they saw the creepy wolves who surrounded the familiar knights. The hero immediately came to their aid. Fenris also contributed to the battle. The girls are once again grateful to our hero. They were just wondering what happened to our hero. Suddenly, during the conversation, an enemy appeared. Only Fenris did not need help. The creepy wolf decided to just give up, but she couldn't let him go. Therefore, Fenris decided to take him as a pet. A moment later they had a pet. Also, in order not to attract attention, Flio decided to change his appearance. In this way, you can safely move around the city. At the same time, the knights were plunged into complete confusion. These two had just dealt with a crowd of creepy witches, which the sacred hero could not defeat, and also took one as a pet. Boleros immediately asked the protagonist for a conversation. In the next frame, everyone was at home. The girl needs to introduce herself as she believes. Belleros, the sacred knight of the kingdom. Blossom, she gained strength on the farm, now a knight. Bellery, used to take care of army horses, but rose to the rank of knight. Bellona, a sorceress, protective magic. Boleros, in turn, immediately asked to teach the entire squad combat skills. Only our hero himself did not really understand how his abilities work. At the same time, furious Fenris tried to scold the girls for such tactlessness, but Flio quickly corrected the situation, saying that this is his wife. After these words, the girl, understandably, calmed down. Fenris immediately told our hero to agree, because they could be trained in battle. After a short thought, he immediately agreed. The girls also asked to stay with them. One living room would be enough for them. There would be no problems with this. The house is large, and the spouses will sleep in the same bed. At the same time, in the Kingdom of Darkness, Euleminus came with a report to the Lord of Darkness. New information appeared about the defeated detachment of Fingarillo near the forest of Delavisa. That magic was not performed by wizards, it was the work of only one person. The order of the Lord was an immediate plan to capture our hero. The next morning, our hero was calmly lying in bed when Fenris disturbed him. It was at night that the girl suggested lying down together. Only our hero is not used to this. Everything should go its own way, spiritual mood and the like. Therefore, our hero decided to sleep in the hallway, but because of this, the girls may doubt their relationship. At the present time, it was time to change clothes. Fenris decided to help our hero. Only Boleros, a little spoiled the moment. She clearly understood that something was wrong. A moment later, Belleros and the team were having one of their training sessions. Only the girls were not doing well, even with one of the simplest monsters. Immediately after the training, our hero showed the girls their new room. Fenris did not waste time and cooked dinner for everyone. Only a little not for people. It was ordinary raw meat. Our hero decided to fix the situation, and Belleros would help with this. A moment later, a healthy and tasty dinner appeared. Our hero is a great lover of cooking. Even the predator Fenris appreciated the taste of a purely herbal dish. The meat, in turn, caused great surprise, and all this without magic. Next time, Fenris will cook everything. In the very next frame, our heroes have broken another record for boars. Inside the guild, while they are counting the loot, Fenris wants to take a walk around the city alone, on her important business. At that moment, Leoles came up and asked for an audience. Our hero's wife's important business turned out to be cooking classes. At the same time, the owner of the guild said that the king sent an invitation to our hero to serve in the squad of the summoned hero. But the hero is not at all interested in the whole situation of the war with demons. He refuses. In the very next frame, our heroes met. But Fenris does not look like she just finished cooking. It turns out that during the lesson, Fenris got into the process a little incorrectly. She does all this only for the love of our hero. That same evening, rumors reached the summoned hero that a strong adventurer had appeared in the guild, who, if he agreed to join the ranks of the army, could turn the tide of events. The hero will wait for the adventurer to appear, then he will make him work hard. Already in the next frame, a month has passed. Only over time the answer of our hero has not changed. He is still against joining the army. At the same time, Blossom, in every possible way, ennobles the field of harvest. Bellery at this time is training in the forest, and already needs to learn on living targets. Our hero, in turn, forged a magic ring for Bellona. The girl decided to fantasize, only Fenris is always nearby. At the same time, Bellarosa, in every possible way, screams for help. Only Fenris came to the rescue and immediately saw through the night. Let her stop pretending to be an innocent victim. She can easily defeat a C-rank monster. She tries to seem weak to attract the attention of our hero. But they were not alone. Already during dinner, everyone was able to appreciate Fenris's new culinary talent. Here she confessed that all this time she had been secretly learning to cook for our hero. Euleminus, after all, was able to understand that it was Fenris. But our heroine felt her presence and immediately began with questions. Our hero immediately invited her to drink tea. During the conversation, information appeared that Fenris's brother and many of her friends were killed in the Delavisa forest with the help of our hero's magic, precisely because of that very purification. But Fenris knew about everything. Her opinion was that her brother himself was to blame, since he could not cope. At the same time, the girls accidentally overheard the conversation. So now everyone knows that Fenris is that she-wolf. Eulaminos, however, thought that our hero was a serious threat to her lord, as well as Fenris. Therefore, she decided to challenge our hero to a training fight. Fenris immediately figured out that under the pretext of a training fight, she wanted to grope him all over. Already in the next frame, the fighters stood opposite each other. After discussing the rules, the fight began. Only Eulaminos could not oppose our hero. But our hero coped with it with ease. The next morning, the main character gave out all the information about Fenris. She swore allegiance to her husband and now does not serve the Lord of Darkness. Belloraza understands that as knights of the kingdom, they must report to the palace, but she sees no point in reporting on someone who is no longer their enemy. During the conversation, another problem arose. Eulaminos decided to return with dragons. Dragons are certainly a powerful thing, but not against our hero. Bellona, dreaming of the title of Dragon Slayer, thought to throw a hoe at them, but she didn't have time. Our hero immediately noticed that not all was lost. Many spells were cast on the flying hoe. With this, the title was obtained. But the others did not have time for such an action. All the dragons flew away. The Lord of Darkness is closely watching all this. It's time for the next step. The very next day, our hero is busy creating a barrier to capture the location of demons. At the same time, the girls can't tear themselves away from the new title. Now they have the legendary hoe that cut off the dragon's head. Belleros is tired of this talk, so she went to kill the norm of monsters for today. During her patrol, Belleros was incredibly upset that she could not get such a title. With the help of this title, she was able to return the status of her family and perhaps even live in the capital. During the dreams, a stranger appeared who wanted to know where his old friend lived. Of course, we are talking about Fenris. He just wants to see her. If so, then he will have to leave. It is only necessary to convey a message to her, nothing more. The stranger introduced himself as Gazelle. The heroes who arrived in time immediately decided to find out where the demon was. Fenris, hearing the name Gazelle, immediately understood who was being talked about. It was the Lord of Darkness, and in fact this is called Cole. The very next day, the Lord of Darkness arrived. Gazelle immediately decided to find out some things. Belleros almost loses consciousness from fear. The only reason for which the Lord of Darkness arrived was to recruit our hero into the army of darkness. But as in the case of the king, our hero refused. He is simply not interested in this war. He does not even know all the details of the war. Gazelle volunteered to tell everything. No one alive now knows the true reason. The war between humans and demons has been going on for 500 years. It began with the arrival of the First Lord. The First Lord of Darkness came from another world to conquer this one. Previously, all demons lived under the yoke of humans. The war began only because the demons accepted the new lord, and humans did not. The longer the war lasts, the more white it brings. Now it is not so easy to stop. 12 generations later, the views of the lords have changed greatly. Gazelle does not seek to rule the world. However, he remains the lord of demons, and he poses a threat to his family. Gazelle cannot allow him to serve people. Only the hero does not want to serve anyone, either demons nor people. Immediately after the departure of the Lord, Belleros hung a little. The next morning she felt better. Only the Lord was already in the house. The Lord, of course, comes to try to recruit our hero, only the true reason is immediately visible. Belleros. He notices her strengths in every possible way. The next morning, Belleros decided to quietly go hunting. Only Gazelle was already there. Again in the morning, Gazelle tries in every possible way to approach the knight and talk. During all his affairs, the Lord of Darkness still tries to get the attention of Belleros. All the arrivals of the Lord were observed by the royal scout, who reports everything to the ruler. The king is not going to leave it like this. It is necessary to seize and kill our hero. The only one who is against it is the princess. The hero decided to force our hero with the help of the army. At the same time, Gazelle again heads to the house of our hero. Eulaminos reported that the army does not like such frequent campaigns of the ruler, only he will cling to any opportunity to recruit our hero. Of course, all because of Belleros. The main character at this thought about selling equipment from dragon scales. This is his first sample. Only now they decided to distract him from work. As was said earlier, the hero arrived with an army to our hero. Our hero has only two options, to submit and act against the Lord of Darkness, or he will declare his spies of the Dark Army and kill them on the spot. Felio was calm, he did not care about this war at all. The girls tried to cover our hero, but the hero did not care. since the girls may have problems, it was time for decisive action. The only option is to move to another place. Absolutely everything was moved. Only Gizel was a little late and found himself surrounded by enemies. It was time for the kingdom to learn a lesson. They took Bella Rosa from him. Eulaminos heard the call. She ordered them to march on the kingdom. A moment later, the hero retreated. Our heroes at this time moved to a new place, in the wilderness in the west, near the city of Ho Tao. The offensive of the demons at this time was in full swing. The fortresses fell as quickly as possible. People were helpless against such an army. The hero at this time locked himself in his southern fortress, and does not come out. The only option left is to gather magicians and use purification magic. Gizel at this time receives intelligence information, but decided to retreat back. Although now is the time to strengthen the position, but the purification is coming, the army of darkness should not fall under it. The council of magicians gathered and used magic against the demonic force. The king's possessions were completely cleared. At the same time, our hero arrived home. Already at dinner, the hero said that he has not yet found a shop to sell his goods. There are many different establishments in Ho Tao. You still need to find out the prices for armor. Blossom decided to sell products from her beds. Bellary decided to raise horses and sell them to travelers. It turns out to be a good source of income. The other two do not bring any income. It turns out to be parasites. In the capital at the same time, the magicians who took part in the purification lay down in a deep sleep to regain their strength. People have only 3 months to come up with something while the spell lasts. Most of the magicians have gone on a 2-3 month recovery. Until the king wakes up, all the duties of the ruler fall on his only daughter. The first decision was to completely deprive the current hero of any privileges and titles. So that evening, the guy was thrown out into the street. Late at night, right before going to bed, our heroes had a conversation. Flio is incredibly happy that Fenris is nearby. But she didn't listen to the end. In the morning, the girls decided to give our heroes some time alone and go on a date. They took advantage of this opportunity without a second thought. For all the help, Flio decided to give Fenris a gift. The choice fell on a beautiful brooch that matches the girl's eyes. It was already late in the evening. Fenris couldn't tear herself away from the gifted brooch. Right before going to bed, the next stage of the relationship happened, sleeping together. Our hero was certainly embarrassed by this, but he couldn't refuse. In the next frame, the heroes made their way into the royal treasury and are trying to get their share for the hero's position. But during the search, a voice was heard in his head. If he wants to gain power, he needs to free the owner of the voice. The voice led them to a secret door. Having pulled out the only sword, Haya, the genie who rules the origins of light and darkness, appeared. Since the former hero freed her, he has the right to 3 wishes. At the same time, an oracle arrived in the throne room, which will help to know the future and find out what will happen next. Only during this, collars appeared on the neck, which made it clear to the princess that someone got into the treasury. This is a sacrificial necklace. All thanks to the genie. Having fulfilled the wish, she takes the heads of her victims. A long time ago, the king of Clairon asked the genie to kill the Lord of Darkness, and for this the genie took half of the inhabitants of the kingdom. Then, at the cost of incredible sacrifices, magicians from all over the kingdom sealed the genie. The seal is almost impossible to remove from the inside, only from the outside. The one who did this has already made a wish. Only the oracle told what to do. They need to find the true hero. He is the one whom they have already called into this world. Everyone immediately realized that we are talking about our hero. They will find him to the west of here. Only now, there are not enough knights, so the princess will personally go looking for him. At the same time, our hero demonstrated his equipment to the merchant. As a result of the negotiations, Flio agreed that he would supply him with equipment, as well as other goods for other merchants. Already in the next frame, during a walk, Flio was happy that he was born for merchants. But not everything went smoothly. The genie is approaching. The prince's first wish was to kill our hero. She must fulfill the wish, but the wrong target was hit. Fenris, at the cost of her life, protected our hero. All the genie's magic is blocked by our hero's barrier. Therefore, the genie will have to use the magic of the origins of light. But this did not give results. But our hero can now also use the magic of the origins of light. This event hit our hero hard. But the secret magic of returning time corrected the situation. But the great genie will not be well now. Even the owner of all the magic in the world will not be able to resist our hero. Nothing helps, neither protective spells, nor higher magic. All that remains is to die. Jean decided to give up, but he did not stop. Only after feeling the warmth of his beloved woman, Flio calmed down. Fenris reminded him that he was kind and never wanted to kill someone who gave up. Fenris would not survive if our hero lost his kindness. At the same time, the princess arrived at the search site. They will have to simply question everyone. However, at this time, the sacrificial necklaces were destroyed. Jean was unable to fulfill his wish. At the same time, the hero was trapped in the vault. But Haya was not the only one who was sitting in a magical prison. The spirit possessed Suyu's assistant. The spirit belongs to the greatest sorceress in human history, Damalina's. She immediately decided to reward the hero who saved her with power. At that moment, Haya was completely healed by our hero. Only because Fenris survived. It remained only to decide what to do with the gene. Flio, with the help of a mind-reading spell, learned what really happened to Haya. Our hero is subject to magic, which is available only to genies. Fenris decided everything for them. The genie now serves them. Thanks to the fact that our hero is kind, the genie changed her mind about people, because it is precisely because people cannot cope with hatred and obsession that they make wishes at the cost of terrible sacrifices. So a moment later, the genie swears allegiance to him. All that remains is to deal with the city. You can use time change magic. But this magic cannot be used, because time change only controls targets within the planned limits. The discrepancy between this limit and its environment is extremely unpredictable and dangerous. While the genie uses this magic, it narrows the limit to its one creature. However, such magic is not intended for people. Now it's time to figure out why our hero has it. Like all higher beings, he has endless skills. It is these skills that allow the magic of insight to be applied. When faced with any magic, he immediately opens it for himself, as well as the spells associated with it. Already this evening, a new roommate arrived at the house. The only thing missing in this house was a real genie. Of course, everyone is a little scared of such a neighbor. Fenris, late at night, worries that Flio will want to return to his world with the help of magic. But our hero does not need this. This world is his home. Also, Flio, nevertheless, decided to marry Fenris, no longer just hiding behind this legend. All this time, Haya was standing in the passage. She is supposed to be in service for the actions of a higher being. In the next frame, in the city, the princess went to another merchant to find out the location of our hero. But no one knows. At the same time, our heroes, as usual, feast on cooked food. This time Haya helped Fenris. Also, with the help of magic, the genie can easily replace all the girls in all matters. After some time, Blossom and the pet are busy with the garden. Bellary is busy with her business in the stable. Bellona, meanwhile, remembers her family, who became court magicians. The girl wants to study magic, but there is no great need for this. Our hero, with the help of Patience, taught her many spells. At the same time, on the street, a magic horse was trampling the garden. Only this is all because of Saiba, because the horse was scared precisely because of the monster. Bellary quickly realized what to do. Therefore, a moment later, the magic horse was saddled. Flio and Fenris are walking around the city at the same time to sell items. Our hero's new product was well appreciated. Flio was offered to try new charm stones. He chose one of them. But not everything is going well. The former hero makes himself known. We need to immediately save civilians. Haya quickly came to the rescue. The sorceress, Damalina Apricot, was to blame. She was once considered the strongest sorceress in Claroth. However, she stained her hands with dark magic. Despite the fact that she was defeated by the hero of those times, her body was destroyed and her spirit was sealed in a pedestal. At that time, the princess came face to face with the sorceress. However, Haya, who arrived in time, managed to save her. None of the spells can cope with the genies. Even the great dark magic is unable to do anything. Therefore, we will have to turn to the most powerful magic. However, our hero ruined all plans. With just one spell from the genie, Damalina was defeated and sent inside the genie for all eternity. Now Haya will be able to take up the education of the highest sorceress. The princess found our hero. Everything is the same. Our hero is offered to become a hero, only he doesn't care about it. He has a perfect life. Already in the next frame, at home, the girls decided to increase the business and expand their possessions. Bellary happily bred magic horses. Blossom will be able to expand her fields. And then they can be delivered harnessed by magic horses. The main character takes on all the expenses, just so that the girls do not feel like a parasite. He will take 30% of the rent. Already in the evening, our heroes discuss the future. Flio wants to open his own shop here. Also, he decided to make everything official and made a ring from that very magic stone. These are paired wedding rings. At the same time, the former hero was sitting in a dungeon, from which he wants to escape as quickly as possible. In the next frame, in Boleros's dream, Guzel and she are at their ceremony. Today they will become husband and wife. Only this turned out to be just her dream. Already in the morning, Boleros is trying to distract herself from sleep. Fenris immediately realized that this was because of unrequited love. All the girls pounced on the conversations about love. Everyone immediately understood and had known for a long time that Guzel always came to them to see Boleros. Only at that moment a notification came about the approach of a demon. It was Guzel's scout. At the same time, in the throne room, information appeared that our hero contributed gold coins to the treasury, which are issued only in the palace. It turns out that our hero donated money for the rebuilding of the city. Now everything became clear to the nobles. These coins were given only to the young man summoned to this world. Everyone understands that Flio is Bonanza. At the same moment, news came that the former hero and the maid had left the palace. In the next frame, the criminals were hiding in the forest. The only thing they managed to pull out of the treasury was a bottomless sack. Only there was not a penny in it. Only a bottomless flask and a chest. The only thing they found was a shovel drill bulldozer. The guards were already close. In an instant, a deep hole appeared next to them. All thanks to the shovel. Already in the next frame, in the Dark Kingdom, Gizel uses all his strength to find our heroes. Yuliminos believes that there is no need to use all his strength to search, because if they set out now, they can capture the main castle, and then the capital. Only Gizel remembers that Flio can use purification magic alone. If he does so, it will be impossible to restrain the dissatisfied. Gizel does not want to retreat from his principles. He considers it pointless to sacrifice so many relatives for the sake of conquering people. An unknown person was watching all this. It was she who, in the next frame, reported everything to Lord Wigart, who is dissatisfied with the rule of his brother. Not only does Gizel not want to step on people, but he also wants to recruit one of them. The advisor understands that our hero has a power comparable to the heroes. Wigart wants to destroy Flio, because demons were created to crush all their enemies. Now, the brother has decided to overthrow his brother, and when he becomes the ruler, he will go to conquer Claroth. At the same time, our heroes, as usual, were in the city because of shopping. The barrier just noticed the appearance of demons. Since there is still time before the meeting, the family decided to have lunch together. Only Boleros spoiled their plans a little. And then Hai came, who said that someone with powerful magic was approaching. It was Gizel. Now the four of us would have lunch. Gizel was especially hoping for a pleasant conversation with the knight. The conversation immediately went in the wrong direction. Hai had told us that the key difference between a demon and a human is the presence of dark elements. Demons and some monsters are able to control their flows. But there are others. Those who cannot constantly miss a small number of particles. And when they accumulate, they become contagious. For demons, even the slightest problems lead to aggression. Gizel decided to leave them, because he felt a little uneasy about the essence of the conversation. On the way home, our hero thought that the wall between people and demons here is much more obvious and impregnable than in his past world. At the same time, the heroes and the assistant are trying to leave the pit. Of course, they got to the top, but the girl could not get up. And the views that opened up for the prince abruptly distracted him, from which he will have to start the whole journey from the beginning. In the very next frame, in the morning, our hero's breakfast begins with another masterpiece from Fenris. The other day, our hero's wife decided to visit her mentor to thank her for the fact that thanks to her she got married. So now we can think about children. At the same time, the princess arrived. Flio immediately cut off that he would not become her hero. She arrived only to apologize to Bonanza. In the very next frame, the princess asked to talk in private, only Fenris refused, because she remembers how the palace treated him. The princess arrived for the deepest apologies. The main purpose of her arrival, of course, is not an apology. A map with human troops was immediately shown. The princess immediately decided to reveal secret information. With the help of purification magic, people gained time to successfully deploy troops. Only a number of cities had to be left without protection. Therefore, the princess asks our hero for help in defense. The princess will force the king to abdicate, but she will need the help of our hero. If our hero can help, then that hero will be recognized as a false hero. Together with him, the king will be guilty. But that's why she shared secrets, just to make our hero stay here. At the same time, mercenaries are trying to find a couple of criminals. Only the problem of hunger haunts them. This was the least of their problems. Now they are captured. Advisor Wigarda planned this from the very beginning. That night, our heroes decided to discuss the princess's request. Our hero, of course, does not want to get involved in this war, but those cities are really under threat. Knowing this, he cannot sit quietly. So he decided to stand up for everyone, and Fenris will help him. Already in the next frame, in the middle of the forest, the first group of monsters attacked. Our hero is a kind of avenger. Flio does not want to fight the demons. If they agree to leave quietly, they will let them go. Only they also had their trump cards. This is one of the Cyclops, the strongest race of the demon army. These are the warriors of Wigart. After all the insults addressed to Fenris, she decided to deal with him herself. With the help of several manipulations with magic, she outwitted the Cyclops. Already in the next frame, the Cyclops was immobilized. There were no problems with the rest either. Flio also decided to save the Cyclops, just to maintain peace and tranquility. The residents immediately appreciated the help of our hero. He only said that it was all thanks to the princess. At the same time, news appeared in the palace that a certain adventurer was driving away the troops of darkness. They report that he silently drives away the demons and leaves. The only thing he says is that he is acting at the request of the first princess. Letters of gratitude come from all over the country. At this time, our hero drove away more demons. And Gizel, observing everything, realized that Wigart was acting without his orders. The scout reported that a coup was beginning in the kingdom. Wigart is waiting for his brother right in the throne room. Fufin also did not waste time. These hostages are needed for a sacrifice to the supreme god to give Wigart the strength to defeat Gizel. The real ruler is already on the way. Already in the next frame, in the house of our hero, the demons have gathered again. Gizel asks to live here for some time, for free. It turns out that the entire devilish four approved of this duel. They all believe that only Gizel is worthy of sitting on the throne, but in their ranks there was talk of an uprising, so he needs to demonstrate his strength. Eulaminos, of course, tried to dissuade everyone, but everything ended in an unsuccessful fight. Her defeat was obvious. At the same time, the real ruler arrived. Of course, everyone immediately gave away what all this was because of. After all, he showed indecision and withdrew his troops. He also refused to continue the offensive, and showed an unwillingness to enslave people. If so, then Gizel has no choice. Only there will be no fight. The Lord gives up possession of the demon ring. Now Wigart is the Lord. If everyone thinks his actions are unworthy of the Lord of Darkness, then he has no reason to wear this title. Only now he decided to demonstrate his strength. This is for him because he wounded Wigart. So now they have no money and no home. Gizel was incredibly happy with Beleros. But the knight was shocked by the question of whether the demons could live here for a while. Everyone gathered for a council about the new neighbors. After explaining that Gizel was no longer the ruler, did not pose any danger, all the scouts and Eulaminos left the army of darkness. The girls were not against it, no one saw any contradictions. But this bothered Beleros the most. But under general pressure, she had to agree with it. Even Saiba was not against it. Already in the next frame, Gizel is trying to find a place where he can be useful. But everyone refuses him. Therefore, our hero decided to brag about his goods. Already late in the evening, everyone gathered around the fire and spent time. Only Beleros sits aside, because he cannot accept even the former Lord of Darkness. Because of this, she could not even sleep. Therefore, our heroes decided to bring her herbal tea. Flio decided to talk about her opinion about demons. In life, of course, not everything goes easy and smoothly. In her head, Deuce understands that Gizel did nothing wrong, that people started this war. But she still can't come to terms with it. She hasn't been on the battlefield yet, but over the years of serving in the Order, she has seen many tears shed over dead and wounded comrades. Because of this, she can't laugh and have fun with him under the same roof. Flio completely accepts her opinion, but Gizel and Eulaminos came here only because they have nowhere to go. You just need to accept them as they are. For example, Fenris, she is also a demon who killed her friends. But she couldn't accept her as a sworn enemy, because she only saw the sweet side. The conversation went in the right direction, Beleros did change something in her head. Therefore, the next morning, there was a conversation that if demons ever, somehow, harm the human race, she will make them regret it. Gizel immediately realized that she accepted their cohabitation, but would continue to watch them. Therefore, he decided to do everything at once. The former lord swears to never harm people. Now Beleros can calmly go hunting. At the same time, the fugitive criminals escaped again, only this time from the demons. They almost left their lands. They also took the demons' treasures. In the next frame, Wigart is trying to understand how people defeat demons that are 100 times stronger. Fufin reported that traps were set along all the routes of the Dark Army, so their army cannot get close to the capital. Due to the departure of all the scouts, traps are now a very effective weapon. Then he will have to gather such a huge army that no trap can stop them. This responsibility falls on Fufin. The four understand that the one who is always rushing forward loses. The advances of the Lord Gizel were clearly thought out. Only the scouts left their ranks. Morale is rapidly falling. If nothing is done, the army will fall apart. But there is no need to worry about this. Fu Fun has thought of everything. Everyone goes to events to raise morale. At the same time, at the fair, Fenris won a lucky ticket with a trip to the hot springs. The ticket includes group accommodation. From 3 to 15. And this time they cannot spend time together. Already in the next frame, all our heroes arrived at the village with hot springs. Everyone was happy with the trip to the hot springs. Some even allow you to replenish your mana reserves, improve the quality of your skin, and even increase the chance of conceiving a child. This is exactly what Fenris dreams of. Their stop was a huge hotel. They can safely use the springs. You just need to sign and get yukatas for all the guests. Fenris at this time tried to find out where the source that helps conceive a child is. All this is in the outer courtyard. But our heroes were not alone here. Wigart and all the demons were here. The Devil's Four were also present here. They only needed pendants to suppress the elements. Our demons immediately noticed them. They immediately decided to tell Flio about everything. But Fenris immediately said not to catch the demon's eye and not to say anything. If they ruin her vacation with her husband at the hot springs, they will regret it all their lives. Already in the next frame, everyone was ready to go to the springs. The problem began: who would live with whom? It was solved quickly, everyone immediately decided who would do what. But the newlyweds will go to the bathhouse to conceive children. In the next frame, Haya went to the inner world to Damalina, where she will spend an eternity. Jean asked to take part in her research. The fact is that after observing the Supreme Being and his wife, Haya became interested in the practice of reproduction. Now she wants to reproduce on her own. Also, the problem is that they are both women. It does not make sense, because Haya is a genie who commands light and darkness, an entity beyond gender. Moreover, she has a weakness for greedy creatures. Only Damalina kicked her out of that world. Our heroes at this time arrived at the baths. There was no limit to the pleasure of the hot springs. In this world, our hero is relaxing for the first time. At the same time, Bellary arrived at her secret place. She went here alone to visit the Museum of Adult Pleasures alone. Only Haya disturbed her. Jeannie is here to find out how to get her partner's consent. Now they go together to enjoy this place. The rest at this time try the local food and drink. Boleros at this moment glances at Gazella. The Lord, of course, noticed this and noted that she looks great in this yukata. They devour each other with a look. The dark forces at this time decided to have lunch. Only the current ruler got bored. So Fufan decided to demonstrate a dance. Only no one liked it. So two demons decided to show an exciting fight. At the same time, the former prince with his assistant arrived in the same village. However, one of the stolen treasures began to emit dark elements. And the fight of the demons led to the destruction of the wall of the building. The stone began to absorb more and more elements. So soon, thanks to dark magic, an elemental monster appeared. At the same time, Boleros decided to improve relations with Eulaminos. Now it is clear that the Demoness considers Gazel the greatest ruler of darkness, so she still calls him the former ruler. Only their conversation was interrupted by a monster. The elemental began to destroy the hotel. Our hero immediately noticed this and supports the building from all sides. Now Fenris needs to check the visitors. Our heroes at this time are trying to understand what is happening. Now we need to help everyone in the hotel. Only Eulaminos is trying to explain that the three of them cannot do anything. Gazel also supports her opinion. Flio will cope with everything himself. But Boleros was not satisfied with this. Flio is already rushing between two fires, the world of people and demons. He had to go through a lot. Despite this, he continues to use his powers to save the world. You can't blame everything on him. Just because they lack strength, they will be next to him, because they want to be useful. Thus, the demons were left alone. Gazel was still convinced. Now they will help our squad together. In the blink of an eye, the demons were on the roof. The four immediately noticed their lord. Wigart, however, decided to fight. The girls immediately decided to help the locals leave the building, and Belleros will report everything to our hero. Wigart was extremely useless against Gazel. Even the blows of the huge monster did not give any results. Flio finally got the information that a huge monster had appeared. The current ruler was hiding here under the guise of guests. Gazel was surrounded by demons. Maybe he had planned everything. But that's not true. Gazel and Eulaminos would deal with everything, so they'd better focus on protecting the building. The demons' fight continues. It seems that Gazel was captured, but that force was greater than the huge monster. We need to urgently take people away from the stone. Fenris will do that. The problem was solved quickly. That's why the monster is gone. Gazel, in turn, saved an ordinary person. He promised that he would no longer harm people. Eulaminos now needs to deal with the others. Wigrat didn't want to retreat. But his strength was useless. Also, the speed was slow. Eulaminos decided to deal with the four, and they just came to relax at the springs. Not a single blow hits Gazel. The spell of returning blows also became a trump card. Only fully charged with dark elements helped to strike. Gazel began to give up his positions. It was time for the forbidden spell. Thanks to it, all the dark elements were temporarily sealed. Now he is an ordinary person in strength. Gazel himself created it to overthrow the former lord. Now the hotel workers will be able to use their spells. Now none of the demons will be a problem, thanks to the containment spell on each yukata. All the demons were sent back to their homeland. At the same time, Fenris takes revenge on the hero for ruining his vacation, hiding behind the removal of dark elements. Now Flio can calmly repair the building. With the help of the squad, the building acquired its former beauty and grandeur. The prince and his assistant went on the run again. Now our heroes are the most welcome guests. They can rest as much as they want. Already that night, Fenris and the others are enjoying their rest in the springs. The guys were also calm. Gazel likes the springs, because the body and soul are calmed. Flio could not believe that they would ever rest here together. Gazel, at their first meeting, considered him an extremely unusual person. He had enough courage and self-control in his presence, used great power not for his own greedy interests, but for a noble goal, peace between people and demons. Perhaps with his help they will be able to create completely new relations between the races, so Gazel thought. Flio hopes that his comrades will continue to help him. In this case, Guzzle will also be useful to him, in the ranks of his comrades. Immediately after the springs, a luxurious dinner was served. There is also a small gift for Fenris, gives strength for that very thing. Bellerose decided to talk to Guzzle, although she usually does not approach. She is grateful for what he did. He tried with all his might to protect people in battle. Of course he did, he cannot break his promise. It is already late in the evening, everyone fell asleep, and our heroes decided to spend time together. Flio is trying to find out what Fenris thinks about people. He wants to understand this to better solve the problem of disagreements. Fenris does not consider them his enemies. In their own way, people have become close to her. In case of trouble, Flio will protect the inhabitants of the city to minimize losses. He will be glad if she helps him with this. She will always be by his side, will go anywhere. Also, this evening will not do without passion and love. The very next day, Fenris was all glowing with happiness. Only Haya regrets that she could not watch what was happening at night. Now it's time to go home. Everything is the same at home. Bellona is teaching at the School of Magicians for the first time today, so you need to collect the most delicious vegetables for her return. The sorceress is holding her first lesson at this time. She immediately told about Flio that thanks to his patience she will pay an equal amount of attention to everyone. Magic also helps with the harvest. The taste is no different from the usual method of growing. There will be no problems with deliveries to the city either. Flio and the demons are examining weapons for sale, and they also decided to open a weapons shop. Boleros also began to treat demons well. The armor they made came in handy. Also today will be the coronation of the princess. Also, do not worry about the demons, it will take a long time for Igarta to return to strength. A crowd of residents gathered for the coronation. Now everyone is in good hands. Her father ran away immediately, for fear of disclosure of his behind-the-scenes atrocities. We must not miss the opportunity given to the queen. And the knights are still looking for fugitive criminals. The heroes assure that he will soon be accepted as a hero of the kingdom. By evening, everyone gathered for dinner. From the very beginning, our hero arrived in this world completely alone. At first, he was only concerned about survival. But then he found friends in a dream, and he is also going to sell his wife's sweets in the shop. Their dream is getting wider and wider.